All right, it's a Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. Welcome to the Please Subscribe show. Looks like we have a disabled veteran. From what war, I don't know. It's a GMC Yukon, probably Desert Storm, who knows. Headed off to find people that are interested in protecting their home from burglary and fire and be connected to the police, fire department, and EMT. Pretty good no-brainer. It's a little company that worked with telegraphs right after the Civil War, known as ADT. Yeah, I saw this thing last night on the news where there's two state troopers at the radio signal injection frequency. These two state troopers were walking back to their car, and this car hit them going like 80 miles. They didn't hit the state troopers though. It hit the car, or hit the back of their car going like maybe 80 and barely missed the two troopers. There's a lot of them where they barely miss them. In my story, I wrote for fictionpress.com called Pet Taxi. Fred is a stand-up comedian that goes off to do filming locations up northeast when he escapes a hurricane from Florida. He gets pulled over by a state trooper who he's basically reported as a silver alert, even though he's not that old. He's barely 60. I thought about Fred Armisen to play the character. The character is called Fred, and he has a manager and all this stuff, and his cat is sitting in his pet taxi right next to him. They call those pet taxis. You know, those little things you put a cat in. They're little basically baskets that you have a little cage on the front. You put your pet in there and you can put them in the car. Well, he's in the pet taxi, but during the stop, the state troopers getting the information to make sure there's a silver alert because they're going to try to take him back. And he releases the cage, and the cat jumps up on the thing right up here. And when he rolls the window down, the cat gets scared because of the dog. There's a canine. They bring a canine patrol to a silver alert. And the cat jumps full force right out the window onto the state trooper's face. He takes one step back, and an 18-wheeler peels him right off the road. It's a short story on fictionpress.com known as Pet Taxi. It's connected to my Silver Alert series. There's Silver Alert Kitty. That's the one before Pet Taxi. That one's about Fred too. And then before that one is a story called Min. So it's in 3 parts, 3 short stories. I wrote it at the Old South when Linda was working at, I believe it was called Romano's Grill or something like that, right next to Old South. Now they have a different name. It's called Rex's Grill. But that had been, I think, Romano's Grill, or it was like an Italian grill. And it was there for a very long time because Dana worked there, who runs Stage West. She's one of the artistic directors of Stage West, Dana Schultes. She worked there too. And I believe Linda worked there for quite a bit of time and cleaned up a little bit. All right, head out. Do you have big pets? Is she a great big fat person?
A dispute?
But when it comes to this kind of work, ADT security, you gotta have the installs. You can have a bunch on the board. Okay, you're gonna have install, you're gonna have sold, which I don't even know what that means. I guess it means that it's in the process of being sold. You have what's known as on the board, and that means that on the board means it pretty much closed. It got on the board, or it's in the process of closing, like they're sending them the email to sign, that kind of thing. That would be on the board. Sold means that there's been a money exchange. On the board means that the contract's on the way and they're maybe trying to secure the credit card or something of that nature, or they can do account for more of a discount. So you've got install, you've got sold, you got on the board, okay? And then you have your commitment, and then you have your goal. Your goal is always the highest. And this type of thing, if you have installs, then you are with the company. It would be insane for them not to have you as part of the company if you have installs. This is talking about all the ADT equipment and everything. They go back as far as the telegraph. So a long time ago, there was a guy that was involved in pretty much the development of the telegraph, and he caught someone in his home. And he wanted to figure out a way where he could alert the police in his district. So what he did was he created a device that would set off the telegraph. If the window opened, the telegraph would begin to make a message. And that would be sent to the local precinct, and the police would come by to check because his address would be on file. And they still do this almost exactly the same today, because when you sign up with ADT, then your address is like a special address that's sent to the police department, fire department, EMT, and they're like ready to respond to that, because ADT goes all the way to Wall Street, and now it's pretty much owned by Google. So it is pretty much. I mean, they're still their own company, but they have Google's invested a tremendous amount in their cameras. So now we have what's known as smart home technology, and that's where people are going in that direction, because it provides much more security than a simple like telegraph going off, or what you would call like a ring, for example, or a Nest. Those are little cameras, doorbell cameras, that only basically tell you that, look, the guy's kicking in your door. You better do something about it. And that response time is not the same as if you're already signed up with a program that's been with the police department and been with the fire department for well more than 100 years. Do you see what I'm saying? So currently, right now, if you want that 2 to 3 minute response time, you're not going to get it with Ring or Nest. You're going to have to get it with a monitored company that's professional and that's more competitive than all the other companies, which would pretty much be ADT. And if you're going to stay with them, at least in cells, you got to have the install. You can have all the cells you want. You can be the best in the world, but without that installation, so you got to know your installer, probably, whoever that is. So, español poquito. First time I was introduced to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, like the music on a cassette tape, it was the one that's, if you see me getting high, knock me down. There was one guy that we knew that really liked the Red Hot Chili Peppers in the early 90s. We're talking like 1990, basically. 90, yeah, it was probably 1990, right coming out of 89, going to 90. There was only one dude. He was like, man, you don't like the Red Hot Chili Peppers? I was like, I haven't really heard of them. It's like, I thought they were just a struggling band that people just kind of, like an alternative band that people were just like, yeah, we listen to them sometimes kind of thing. They were not that big in the early 90s when that album came out. And then later, about 2 years later, they were Elvis. It was like the Beatles. It was crazy. And he lived some cul-de-sac. He was like a ska punk. He was a ska punk, You know, he probably knew about jazz and things like that, because they did funk, and like people were like, what the crap is this? You know, all this craziness. And then later they'd become one of the greatest bands of all time. Pretty crazy. My children's story, Mid-Cities Boulevard Squirrels. Nothing but churches in this area. Gobble gobble. Looks like it's a Turkey Tuesday, but then Thursday will be the Tuna Thursday, so I'll probably go with the tuna on Thursday. But I'm probably going with the protein pocket at your local Subway. You can kind of see the meal of the day. You got your Meatball Monday, your Tuna Tuesday. Oh, we'll go with the tuna today. Then we've got the Wednesday sweet chicken. Oh no, it's teriyaki. Your Thursdays are actually your Turkey Thursdays. I got it mixed up. Your Black Forest Ham Friday. So it's actually Tuna Tuesday. So you can do the whole meal a day and get the chips and stuff, so I can have a snack.
Going to Filmmaker. I'm feeling the film. Thank you for shopping at Christmas.
Happens at Quick Trip, stays at Quick Trip. Got my caffeinated tea. So 7-Eleven, that would have been $2.69. If you use your points. Actually, not points, some use your numbers. So you get a $4 pick one QT drink, and you get this griller. It can be like a egg roll or a hot dog. And then you get a QT chip, like these taquito chips or something. But I'm gonna go with Subway instead. That is weird. Did you see what it did? Okay, so my phone, I have an iPhone 17 Pro. It's got a Pelican casing, which I hate, and a Pelican screen protector. I'm gonna get rid of both of those things with a blow dryer and a guitar pick, or maybe a credit card to scrape it off. Anyway, it did something weird. So my alarm went off, and it showed like the Z's for the alarm going off up on my alarm. When my text was up and I was sending a text, it showed the Z's from hearing the alarm. That's AI. So it heard the alarm, and then it wrote Z's in the text when I was sitting there texting, because it listens. The iPad does the same. So it'll listen to you and start to write what you say. In this instance, in this AI program, it listened to the alarm and wrote Z's. You should read my play Hidden Drive. It's about a Google home box going crazy. All right, now I'm gonna check it. All right, not a copyright play on here. Oh, they actually got it right. That is correct. It's on the thingy. Good to go. Let's see. Because see first if they put a napkin. They did. They provided one napkin. Oh, 2 napkins. I'm pretty impressed. 2 napkins. 2 napkins. Okay, so it should have pepper jack, lettuce, spinach, tomatoes, cucumbers, pickles, green pepper, black olives, onions, jalapenos, bell peppers, and oil. We should put the calorie count on the receipt. It's got this little QR if you want to QR it. Right there for rewards. MVP rewards. I do flatbread. There it is. Like, what is that? It's like the bread split. But, you know, I'm paying for it, so. And this is their... It tastes a little bit like an old tomato. All right, first door for Door to Door. This will be day 10, 12:55 arrival. About 1.2. Got you, but there's a toilet. She drives a black Toyota truck. It's like an SUV style truck. Mid-Cities Boulevard Squirrels. Mid-Cities Boulevard Squirrels. It is basically a children's story that I wrote that's on myfictionpress.com under Ash Cole. And I have a two-part Mid-City Boulevard Squirrels and I believe West Mid-City Boulevard Squirrels. And there's also an East Mid-City Boulevard Squirrels. And there will be probably a fourth one too where they end up going to Florida. It's about Lucy, Johnny. Nutty the squirrel gets killed in the beginning of the first one. He gets flattened. They have to take his body to an old oak tree alongside the road. But Lucy and Johnny are a couple, and there's Timmy. Timmy's the lead squirrel after Nutty dies. Really, Nutty and Timmy shared the alpha squirrel thing. But when Nutty died, Timmy had to do a burial. So he got Lucy and Johnny to help him scrape Nutty off the road and bury him by an oak tree. That's the first one. The second one, they go to they leave a peanut farm to another peanut farm in a different zip code. They take a train with a hobo squirrel named Chuck, and they have to go to the other zip code to the peanut farm. The third one, they get stuck on an aircraft, basically an airliner, and they end up in Florida and Disney World with a lot of peanuts. There's also going to be one where they go into space on a NASA spaceship with a bag full of peanuts. Then they're also going to go to California too. I think there's one where they go on a boat. I don't know if it's to California or not. I have to figure that one out. But Mid-City Boulevard Squirrels is written, there is some spelling errors. It's on fictionpress.com under Ash Cole. Renter. Renter. Has a dog, and he's already ADT. Is a certain device that listens that the dog would wear or on the collar, and it could tell by the way the dog barks and the behavior and the motion of the dog whether to send out a well-being check from the police department. So the dog's acting weird, and it would listen. It would set off a device where ADT could probably like listen in and find out what's going on. They can also have listening devices within the house for strange things that might happen. Strange voices. It'll be like voice recognition with facial recognition. They already have facial recognition on cameras, so it'll be like sound recognition, like the sound of someone breaking in. And that's basically what glass break is. What a glass break does is all it does is listen for the sound of the breaking glass. This would be like listening to the behavior of the dog, if you had a pet dog, to alert the police, to the police. Now, this isn't a story of mine, okay? A fictional story called RIB, Revolutionary Independent Branch. Now, it's also parentheses, or Dog Night Out, close parentheses, dash Shepherds of Alaska. It's on my Fiction Press, not all of it, they only do an excerpt on Fiction Press under Ash Cole, but it's written by Cole Spivey, who I am. So the dog rescues the owner. The dog rescues his master in an avalanche situation in the book. You got to read it, and how the dog does it's pretty cool. But it's a German Shepherd, and he's stuck under the ice, I think more than 50 feet. The dog's able to get down to him to make a hole, and then they're able to lower it's like a tube. You have to read it. It's like a tube that they use for moonshine, because the police are involved with trying to stop this character named Joseph Blackbird from doing moonshine in Alaska, from making moonshine. So they basically take some of it's like a tube they use in moonshine, a lot of it, because he's doing a lot of moonshine. And when Shep, Dwight East, goes under into the ice, and he goes into this pit, they use that moonshine tube that wouldn't have been used moonshine, it was going to be used, that they confiscated to act as a hose to breathe from as he's down there in the avalanche. His dog is named Buster, and he helps rescue him. It's only one scene, and I believe it's done in one chapter. Now, there is something stuck in Shepherd Dwight's ears, because he has one of those iPod, they're like a MP3 player, basically, kind of thing that he's listening to as he's hiking before he gets hit with the avalanche. And it gets stuck on David Bowie's song Space Oddity, and it's stuck in his ears. So then in the scene, that song is playing on repeat, and he can't get it out of his ears because of the avalanche. So he has to listen to it over and over again until they finally find him and rescue him. That makes him somewhat famous in Fairbanks, Alaska. And that's when he meets Lady Shelby, who's connected to Rib. And that was created by the dwarf, Doc Shelby, also known as Guy Littleman, but he has a third name, and you have to read the book to get his third name. E-boxes were here, but they were laying down last time, so that means they've been back. They're still installing crap. Next door, 153, 1.1, back to Rib. So when Shepard falls into the avalanche and goes like 50 feet under the snow, which he should have been dead, he is saved. But what ends up happening is when he sees the avalanche start to fall, the dog has a Garmin on his collar. It's basically a vest. It's a harness that the dog wears. This is about, basically it's a cop on the run. So this cop, Shepard Dwight East, gets set up for murder. It's a false case, because there's a serial killer that's posing as a cop in his area that's originally from NYPD, that was let go of NYPD and became basically a serial killer. So what ends up happening is he gets set up and has to run off to Alaska because a brother cop helps him leave, because he could, they could get him and put him in prison, which is pretty much a death penalty for a cop. So he goes to Alaska to try to survive on his own under a different identity known as Archie Rector. And the dog has a different identity. Instead of Buster, he calls him Rover. It's kind of funny because he just comes up with the first name. He has to come up with a name whenever the state troopers run him off some reservation land. They secretly kind of know that he's an ex-cop, and like, hey, listen, the judges aren't going to go out there and arrest the guy. The cops have to do it. But anyway, he gets stuck in Alaska, and he goes through an avalanche, but the dog has a Garmin, just like he does. But he sets the dog's Garmin first, because the dog makes it away from the avalanche. It happens in many cases. Watch a channel called Foresty Forest. It's on YouTube. Anyway, and the Garmin is how they end up finding him, and how the dog actually doesn't get hit with the avalanche. He escapes it. You have to read it. I don't remember the chapter exactly, but it is in the later chapters, and you'll just have to scan through it and see where it says the word avalanche. Okay. Nothing but radio signal injection frequency hiking. It's a fan of the show. Did you hear that copyright seeping in right there? I could be wrong about the radio signal injection hacking, but listen, if it is a malfunction with the company, the car company, then there's nothing I can do. But if they're radio signal injection hacking, that's a lawsuit that they can't get out of. I don't know if that's them, but that's their neighbors. Looks like a failed garage sale. Ooh, it's still moving. Yeah, the radio frequencies don't get out here that far. I'm gonna ask them to pour me a lady-sized beer. Yeah, it's still February. Maybe just one lady-sized beer. Everybody's gotta learn sometime. These things right here are genius. They make them for iPad. That's an iPad. They're genius. I mean, they're just very sticky. It's kind of like what the OtterBox Defender is. I don't know what brand it is, though. I can't tell. Oh, there it is. It's pretty cool. Right. So with Your Love with paid training, it's a location manager. And so basically he comes to a house, he gets fed up. He's using like probably Sales Rabbit, and he's using another thing called Redfin probably. And he gets fed up with all these people not being home. So he finally finds a house like that, and he checks it to see if someone's there and the door's open or the door's ajar. And that's where Lisa is. She's inside sleeping on the couch. She's not the owner of the house. She's actually a local drunk that just pretty much fell down on the couch and passed out. That's how they meet. And that scene will be the first scene written. There's another scene which I came up yesterday with Lisa, and I gotta find the main guy's name. I gotta go look through my notes to see if I have character descriptions. He basically is a location manager, so he's trying to like basically get people security, and he finds out that that house is basically just, it's either abandoned or it's just waiting for the new owners. But there's like a couch in there that's been wrapped up in plastic, and she's laying like on the couch, basically passed out. And that's how they meet. Then they have kind of a last tango in Paris little moment. Then there's another sequence where they're at the roller rink later down the line, and she takes a Jello shot and passes out, and he has to follow her back of the ambulance, so you know how serious it is. It's a mixture between Cassavetes, A Woman Under the Influence, and something like John Hughes would do, like Pretty in Pink. And then it's mixed in a little bit with like maybe Say Anything. So it's Say Anything, Pretty in Pink, maybe a little bit of 16 Candles, but she's not 16. She's more like, 40 something, and he's like in his 50s, but it has that kind of feeling. And then because we're more of an immature generation, and it has a little bit of Pretty Pink, and then a little bit of Cassavetes, Woman Under the Influence, and then a touch of Say Anything with There's competition right there. That's competition. He's just knocking on the door. Yeah, they were following me earlier. Now I'm following the other way around. Well, I ran into him, so he's probably already knocked up this way. But you never know. All right, Chill Brothers. Both pretty important. Every love story is a ghost story. David Foster Wallace. Probably gonna go through the driveway and then back that way. Yesterday at 7-Eleven is down. Unbelievable. He gets the whole car but the license plate. Unbelievable, man. So much silt. It's crazy. Look at all this right here for the sidewalk. They put a little yellow spray paint there just in case, you know, you didn't see the gravel. Probably the city has to do that. Like one time my cousin and I, Robbie, we were skateboarding. We got something similar to that, but it was like a lower one towards the ground. We used it to rail slide on. He broke his wrist. Always felt bad about that. Broke his wrist on his driveway. Well, it was broke it on the curb, but it was, you know, it was probably because we were messing around with the city equipment and trying to skateboard on it. And then he had to take painkillers and wear a cast. I think he was probably, I know I was 15, he might have been 13. Going on 13 or something. Pretty much a bowling ring called Bolero. I can't think of what's more annoying, a Cybertruck or a Prius. I'd probably say both. Regenerative braking. Before, I've never seen this sign before, but Superior Public Water System, welcome to Keller. It's where my dad kind of used to live. He's in Fort Worth though, but he lived in Keller for a long time. Superior Public Water System. Yeah. And their jail has a kennel, a dog kennel, because I've been in it for a school zone ticket. Before when they wanted to ship me to Louisville, because I was pulled over by a black cop for going over a bridge that didn't have any yellow lights flashing. Public Water System, Superior. Now remember, they're not inferior, they're superior. I'd probably test the water here before I drank it. Yeah, that Louisville ticket was bull crap, because I got a lawyer, but it was a black lawyer out in Arlington. And they were supposed to put it in adjudication, which they did put it in adjudication. So that was probably a false arrest case, but it was a white cop that got me. Whether he's still a cop, I don't know. He's got a guitar in there, some lady in there. Right next door, point 4. So if you see Men at Work with Emilio Estevez and his brother, Martin Sheen's son, Charlie Sheen, they have a movie that's probably a pretty important movie to watch called Men at Work, about 2 of the guys that do this stuff. They only have so much time to get that trash in that compactor and then get on the road again because of traffic and stuff like that. Didn't see the movie, but I want to. It's probably they work as, well, they're brothers. Emilio is with Charlie Sheen. They actually did the movie. It's a comedy. I don't know how serious of a comedy it is, but like I said, I didn't see it back in the probably late 80s maybe. I don't know if that ran into the 90s. Men at Work is the name of it. They won't let you through until they either get around a corner or a court, because he's got another one coming through here. So they have to get to a cul-de-sac or an area. Sometimes they will, yeah. Like that right there, that person right there doesn't want to let me through. I don't know who they are. Talking about Kansas City. He also did another film called The Public, which is a really good one. It's got a horror film about libraries. But they really played trash man. They went out and got method with it and did this kind of stuff. They only have a certain amount of time to get that trash right there in the back of a dumpster there, and then he's got to jump back on there and go around that way. See if they're gonna let me. Yeah, because he's got to stop and get that other. He's got to get those right there. They like to launch here. One of my enemies. And it was used in the crucifixion of Christ. This is what you call a move-in. This is the day of their move-in. It's not a bad time, but a lot of times they're not there yet because they don't want to go through the whole move-in process. They don't want to watch people move things in. Sometimes they show up in a pod. Not necessarily. They sometimes will sign up on a move-in because they get all their, they get all their crap put in their home, and then they get the security and the smart home security. They get that too at the same time. Might as well get it out of the way. They sometimes will. It does look like a movie set, kind of. I'm pretty sure that's their grill. Can't tell from here. That's probably their grill. Or something. Man, bad knees. That flag almost sounds like chimes, the wind chimes. Looking for that red heifer. Because they won't rebuild the temple again until they find the red heifer. Yeah, when I was younger, we had a race. It was a long distance race. It went all the way back there where I was, and it circled around back to Keller Junior High, which is known as Bear Creek Intermediate. We're about to pull up there right now. They don't have the encryption codes to this either, but they don't really want it because it's through Kia. But it'll always work on the phone, because they don't have the encryption codes to the phone. There it is, Bear Creek Braves. It was Bear Creek Intermediate. I think when I was there, they were the Bears, but maybe they were the Braves. I broke my collarbone right over there. And And I think it was my mom and Jody Ziegler or some other girl that ran over when my bike hit this launch on this mound of dirt, went flying straight up and down at a race. We were on a bike race. And I didn't die, but I thought I was dead. But it broke my collarbone. Because once I had my 3 kids, 3 children, I went to see my dad. Angel was with me, my second wife. He goes, well, maybe I'll be those types of people that have kids running all around. I didn't understand that. I was kind of I was like, what is he talking about? You'll be those types of people that have like 10 kids running all around. I didn't understand that. There's a lot of stuff that went on during Vietnam that was weird. A lot of it's linked to procreation. There's a lot of weird stuff that went on in Vietnam that's linked to procreation laws and all kinds of stuff. We're getting more like China. Alright, I would probably say no on it, but they're driving a Lexus. So, looking maybe. Wife, a lot of times, you know, when you get back, they're like, look, we've been talking about it, you know, we're not gonna blah blah. It's a big deal, you know, but I try to throw in, listen, my grandparents felt the same way until they kicked in the back door, told my grandfather to lay on the ground. They covered my grandma and my grandfather with blankets. It was creepy. They got voice changers. They're like, lay on the ground. They had guns. They stole $100,000 worth of jewelry because my family was in the jewelry business. We lived like right down the road, like right over there off Randall Mill. It happened in Haltom City at Diamond Lock, in a place you'd never thought. Back then that was a really nice neighborhood. It was like super nice. It was right along the golf course. My grandparents had to move. It changed their life. No one was killed, but my sister had to jump out of the window. She's no longer with us, by the way. It affected her dramatically. She had to jump out of a window because she heard the voice changers, and she got the neighbors come over with shotguns, and there was a firefight that happened in Haltom City. Nobody was killed that we know. We don't know if they got hit with pellets, because there's pellets and shotguns. They mostly had shotguns. Even the intruders did. We don't know who did it to this day. But if they had smart home security like they have today, there's a good chance they could have found them, tried them, and put them away, you know? But they never found them. They only had the basic security system back then. That was just the thing that tripped the alarm. A lot of them were on little wires. Sometimes they used magnets. They don't have the sensors and this technology now where they can track them down and get them. You know what I mean? Nowadays, it's almost like we put a tracker on the car, you know? Oh, that's a cute little doggy, little doggy, little doggy. The Apaches, they were used during the Revolutionary War. Without the Apaches, they never would have won. They were the ones that were the meanest. They cut up all their victims in little pieces and threw them down the river. They would find body parts in the river. That's how the Apaches were. They did not have to worry about radio, signal, injection hacking. But they were mean, and they were used in the Revolutionary War. The French worked with them. That's how we took this country from the English, who taxed people for silly laws that didn't make any sense. Also used the Navajo in World War II for communication, encryption communication, because they didn't know the wind talkers. They didn't know their language, so they used them to talk on the radio. I believe they might have used the Sioux too. I had a girlfriend that lived over here named Christy Wright. She was a big George Strait fan. Was in junior high. She wanted to know how big his... Well, we'll talk about that later. The first thing I'm going to get is glasses. I have to check that. Yeah, I can smell the paint. So I did have a friend. I had a friend. He was a pretty good friend. No one liked him. He lived right here. And Christy Wright would make fun of him because he would pick his nose in the gymnasium during junior high. And I went to play, come over to play with his, toys and stuff. His mom made his spaghetti. I thought it was pretty cool, but no one gave him a chance. He was kind of like Ralph, like, my cat's breath smells like cat food. He was kind of like that, but nobody liked him. But I felt bad for him, and I wanted to hang out. He might have lived there. It's one of these houses. But his mom made spaghetti. And it may have been that one. I don't know. But Christy Wright lived over here, too, somewhere with her sister Jennifer Wright. They spelled it W-R-I-G-H-T. They both have different names now because they got married and had babies. Might have been that house. But she goes, I can't believe you're hanging out with that guy. He picks his nose in gymnasium class. It's really like a auxiliary class where you meet, and then they ooh. This is back when Back to the Future came out, and we had executioner boards. We all wanted to be Michael J. Fox. Actually, my friend had an executioner board. I didn't have one till later, and I'd break my ankle. It was a horrible break. It was like a 180, well, it was like a 90-degree spiral fracture on a mini ramp. It was horrible. It took me 6 months to recover. I was able to jog again, but not so much now. I remember my doctor said, when you get in your 50s, you're going to have a little bit of arthritis. But I don't think he pronounced it that way. It was arthritis. Is it arthritis? There's different pronunciations. There's like 15 different pronunciations for it. Arthritis. I think it's arthritis is what they say in some. It's probably the incorrect pronunciation. Arthritis. Yeah, he said you're going to have arthritis when you're in your 50s. A little bit is what he said. But you'll be able to run again, he said. And then they popped it back. But they had to put me down. There's a mailbox. Bear Creek Intermediate area. Yeah, he was going this way and walking that way. We said some lines from Back to the Future, and my friend walked that way with his executioner board. I don't remember what he said, though, but it was lines. We would memorize the lines from the movie. One thing, if my grandma had the panic button that we offer and she wore it around her neck, she would have been able to hold the panic button for 2 seconds, and the cops would have been on their way, banging on the door. The only difference between the neighbors and the cops is back then, if the cops would have told them to stop and they would have kept running, they wouldn't have missed, if you know what I mean. Anyway, the police over here are right. I'll show you. I've been in there because of a school zone ticket. And I had an anonymous bail me out. Right. Somewhere right there, I think. Could be further down, I think. It's this road, though, I think. Yeah, it's this road. It's right there. Yeah, that's where the kennel is, too. Right past that windmill, right there. They go through a little gate. I have no ties to that arrest at all. Like, I can't recall the police officer's name. I don't have they give you a little piece of paper, but I don't think it has all the information on it. It's like a little arrest paper, like to trace the arrest, but they have it archived. They archive every arrest. They have to by law. It's gonna be that one. Like he already said, I'm already monitored. What's the rebuttal to that? Oh, are you effing lying to me? Which would not be good. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. There's no rebuttal to it, We're already monitored. What, are you freaking lying to me? You know what a fire can do to this house? They were telling me today in training, they were saying, because I'm writing a screenplay. Well, I'm preparing to write. You got to write. A screenplay is a lot like writing a song. You got to be prepared to do it. You got to take lots of notes and research and stuff before you even get started and start jittling down the dialogue and getting the little descriptions and the cut to and all that stuff that they put in later. Even whenever you put them in, they're like, I think a dissolve would be better here. But, yeah, it's called Your Love with Paid Training. But what I'm trying to say is that Well, I forgot what I was trying to say, but I was trying to say something. No, you don't really have a rebuttal for that. Okay. You're not lying to me, are you? Because this place could burn down. Oh, yeah, I remember fear-mongering, right? So the lady didn't like the fact that I talked about the home invasion story. Well, hey, you know, it does happen, but the kid was around, and she was like a teenager. Like, don't do that around my girl. Well, it'd be really bad if that would happen, right? You've seen Cape Fear, which is crazy. You know, the thumb sequence of Cape Fear with Robert De Niro. But, well, it was the thumb was like that. But there's creeps out there, right? So if you're monitored, you push that thing for 2 seconds, and that means that if they don't get out of there, and you know, at the very most, they'd have 5 minutes, but they may only have 2 or 3 minutes. The people here would literally have a minute to run, and they have to go through this. So the people here would have ADT response time of probably less than a minute. The cop shop is right there. That's where the jail is. And the city, basically where the police are. They're right past that little river right there. So they'd be there very, very, very quickly. And they would be an idiot, you know, to hit that place if they didn't know that was cop headquarters, which that's probably secret information. In actuality, and thieves know this, it's public information, right? This is also a skate rink. It used to be a skate rink when I was younger. I remember this, my friend, who was this redheaded guy, I tried to fight him one time. He was a big time jogger. We were on the bus and he jogged right past the bus to get home from school. So he was a jogger. He wanted to prove to everyone that he could beat the bus. It was probably a 20-mile trek from here to Fox Lane. And he did. He beat the bus on the way home. Later, I tried to fight him because we didn't really have a reason. We just wanted to fight. But Keller High School is straight ahead, right past Keller Parkway. On the map, and there's our radio frequency right here. It's like right here on the map. There's radio frequency, it's just they're not injecting the radio frequency hacking. Or it's malfunction. It's really hard to prove what it is, if it's a malfunction or radio injection. But if you look on this map right here, you'll see it's right about here. That's Keller High School. I went there for a while. I ended up graduating from Pascal. That's where Taylor Sheridan. Trying to say I was rudely interrupted by Mavis Staples' Beautiful Strangers, written by Kevin Morby. Yeah, I went to the same high school as Taylor Sheridan, who wrote Hell or High Water. He's actually doing some filming stuff, I believe, on the 19th in Fort Worth, right down where I live. It's on, used to be a skate ditch right over here. It's on, it's at Roy Pope grocery store. And that road is called Merrick, like John Merrick. There's Keller High School. There was a ditch right over here where we would skate. They cleaned up that ditch though. We were skateboarders. And I was on the football team my freshman year. My dad made me quit. He said, football players have a big, you know, you gotta tell the coach that you quit. So I went and told the coach, yeah, I quit. And I go, why do you quit? I was like, my dad didn't want me playing. He was like, oh, well, I guess you have to quit. I was like 145 pounds. But I didn't tell him that it made me quit because football players have a big, you know, ding. Isn't that rude for a father to say that? Football players have a big, I don't want you playing. I wonder why they do. Probably because of the protein they have to get in high school. Yeah, they have to get a little more protein than the other kids are in band. But I did have a guy tell me, he said, listen, if you quit the football team, join drama. That's what they usually do. You probably do good in drama if you end up not doing well in football. And I was like, you know what? I'll think about that. And later on, I would join the drama department at Pascal High School. And then it would get me into college, all the way to grad school. It got me to New York, right down the street from Wall Street. All because I listened to this one football player. It's like, if you don't do good in football, join the drama department. It's a lot of fun, and you learn a lot of stuff about business. And we practiced right there. That was where we practiced football. I was safety, and sometimes they would let me do wide receiver. Radio sequence right there. Radio fuel injection hacking, or a malfunction. when the high school first was developed, when they first erected the high school, they had a haunted house during Halloween, and they made you go into a room and watch the opening sequence of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre by Tobe Hooper. It was right back there. See where it says 26? That's where the guy in the chainsaw, it was like, it didn't have the actual blade on it. It just buzzed you. But he would be in a little room, and you'd run through that to get through the chainsaw mess. Be like, ring, ring, ring. It was pretty scary, but it wasn't that big of a haunted house, but you could hear the chainsaw throughout the haunted house. So it was kind of, nerve-wracking. That movie always scared me, man, every time I'd watch it, especially when I was younger. I remember going to that room and feeling complete fear, then hearing the chainsaw and going in thinking, because it's about like a family that has this guy named Leatherface. He's like a family member. There's the public library, and or the Keller Public Library. It's like, he had a chainsaw. I mean, they really had a chainsaw. It was pretty scary. I put the code in. Yeah, it does say caution right there, but you can't. It's not really noticeable. It doesn't have like a light or anything. They usually are supposed to draw a line and have a little stop sign. I was able to get through that one. I've had a few of them hit my car, but they usually have a stop sign and a little like line on, like, it gives you enough room, and you stop there, and then it activates it. But they shouldn't open inward. They should open outward, especially on exit doors. Very rarely do they open inward, but it does happen. California. You can hear that? If I was in LA, California dreaming. It's playing on a speaker. California dreaming. It's not moving. Oh, they are. Turned out to be a really cool guy. Hey, Dougie Doug. They're Colorado, and they're California. It's pretty much how Keller is. Say is what is $20 a month if the house is burning down? Because after the homeowner's insurance policy is discounted, that's basically what you're paying to save your home, your dog, your family. And all of this, honey, for $20? You just had to pay $20. It's like my dad's saying, all you had to do was take $60 and press a button. You would have had the whole thing. You would have had the whole world. $60 and a press of a button. But $20 is $20. $60 and a press of a button. All right, so Michael Barrett and I were sprinters too. Michael was shorter, and he could sprint pretty quick. He was the fastest on the track team. But we would sprint down this hill as fast as we could. His dad was a minister. Down that hill right there, we'd sprint down it as fast as we could. His dad ended up leaving the ministry just to build churches. He wanted to design, architectural design of churches. He was more concerned with how the church looked and the structure of the church. So he left the ministry for that. I think he did pretty well. I know that he did. We didn't play soccer there. We had another area that we played, but this is like where they're playing soccer now. It was my half brother had one of his birthday parties, I think, here for his daughter. I think Angel and I went to it. But now they're basically playing soccer and baseball and softball. They're really big with soccer here in Keller. That's where I got started in soccer. That's where I ended up doing my whole jogging later on in college, where I did the whole 6-mile jog day and ended up in California. That was because of soccer. Look at a little creek bed back there. It's Kind of nice. Yeah, that one's better over there. Most powerful institution in the world, the USPS. We did practice soccer here until high school, but this is the Bear Creek Intermediate. And that's where also I broke my collarbone when I was on, it was track day, basically. And it was the day when we were riding bikes in a bike race. It was after we did the jogging thing. So I'd already wore myself down jogging in like this mini marathon. Then we went to do the bike race, and that's when I broke the collarbone. I think it was like 6th grade. Yeah, and I wore a sling and everything. It was really bad. I should have had a brace. I should have wore a brace, but the doctor said it was a clean break and I could wear a sling. So, I don't know. That's what I remember going to Scarborough Fair in Waxahachie and wearing a sling, but it was like I used a horn. You know, one of those horns that you would drink out of or blow through. And I put my hand in the horn as if it was a sling so they would know it was a sling. That's how crazy method I was when I was in junior high. Because I went as an elf. I went to basically the Waxahachie Scarborough Fair as an elf. And I didn't want them to know I broke my collarbone. I want to show off my elf outfit. My friend Sean. Sean was like a crazy hippie pirate. To make it more understandable, we went to Waxahachie, Scarborough Fair. I did wear a horn, but the horn had a strap on it. So you could put the strap around your neck, and then you could put your hand or your wrist in the sling, which was also had a horn. So it just looked like I was wearing a horn, you know, to blow through a horn. And so my hand was in it, holding it. So that was my sling. I don't know if it healed properly, but it doesn't give me any problems. And that's where we would sign up for soccer, right there at the Lions Den. And the soccer place was right over there where they're playing soccer right now. Or they're playing baseball, but we played soccer there back in the 80s, probably early 80s, when they had Golden Burger, which is now an Asian place. It's been an Asian place forever, probably since the 90s. They had Golden Burger since like late 80s, and they turned it into a Chinese restaurant, which I don't know if I'm going to go by there today. Some of those places you end up puking. Yeah, it's called Pho or Pho. It's Pho in a box right there. That was Golden Burger back in the day. You could get a golden burger, or at least it was golden. The buns were golden. Okay, it's probably this one right here. Yeah, it's radio signal injection hacking. So they send a radio signal to your car, and it messes up your smart home security Apple CarPlay. No, I'm just joking. It's Apple CarPlay. I don't know what it's doing. Probably malfunctioning. How am I going to know where I'm going? You hit radio, and then you hit media, and it fixes. I don't really listen to the radio, to be honest. It's sometimes. That means it's hitting again, yeah. So they'll keep trying. Until they get those encryption codes, they will lose. They ain't gonna beat this. The radio's already been beaten. This thing right here. That has your money. Most all of it. to think of Kurt. He was impatient, you know. He would have got it all back. He just had to wait. And also, he had to get sober. But it was easier for him just to leave at that moment. It was like 20-something. Mount Gilead. Some do say Mount Gilead. Look at that house right there. There's probably 40 different pronunciations of Mount Gilead. Or Mount Gilead. Or at least 4 different pronunciations. Mount Gilead, 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 Mount Gilead. What is it doing, dude? I don't know. I had this HT. There's Snoopy. Tweety. Is it Tweety? I know it's Snoopy for sure. No, I think it's called Wood. Is he Tweety? Tweety Bird? I thought they maybe named him Woodstock. I know it's Snoopy for sure. I would guess Tweety. No, Tweety is the other bird that looks like him. I think it's Snoopy and Woodstock. We'll find out in a minute. It's Woodstock. And not Snoop Doggy Dogg at Woodstock concert. I'm talking Snoopy and Woodstock for real. Peanuts. I just talked to a dude that looks like a thinner version of Channing Tatum, is his name, from Roofman. He also looked like a lighter version of John Cena. That's who he looked like. He looked like John Cena, but he didn't go by that. I was going to ask him, are you John Cena? But he looked like a lighter version of him. From Mine, have you ever seen Mine? About the troops. John Cena was a wrestler. Yeah, he looked like there were wrestlers out here in Keller. All of the Von Erichs were out here in Keller. Eric Von Erich, David Von Erich, all the Von Erichs were out here. Is in a different film. In Mine, it's a 2016 film about a U.S. Marine that steps on a mine, has to stay there for a long time until a sniper tries to help him out. It's a crazy film. It's Armand Hammer. I know that's his name. Armand is A-R-M-A-N-D, and then Hammer spelled with the 2 M's. It's pretty good. I own it. It's one of the ones I bought. I think I got it at a discount. But you can get them on Vudu or Fandango. And you can also get them, well, you could probably find it on YouTube. It's M-I-N-E. It's a 2016 film. He looked kind of like that dude. But then again, he kind of looked like John Cena. I know John Cena was in a war film. I just can't think of it right now. He's the wrestler, John Cena. I'll look it up. If you're watching a film, you think it's a whole different actor. Yeah, Armand Hammer looks like John Cena in Mine. It's an incredible film. I gotta find the one where John Cena has a sniper rifle. And that, I know he does. I know it, maybe not, but I'm sure he does. He was a wrestler. Finally, I figured out John Cena was in a war film called The Wall. That was the other one. I should have got that one too. The Mine one is a really good one though. It's suspenseful thriller is really what they classify it as. They don't even classify it as a genre as a war film. It's very strange. It is a war film, kind of, but it's called Mine. It's more of a psychological thriller. The Wall is the one that John Cena was in, and that one's good too. John Cena plays Staff Sergeant Shane Matthews in The Wall. I figured it out now. So I got The Wall and The Mine mixed up. But they're both good films though. They're both psychological thrillers. One is a genre of a war film. They're basically both war films. But that dude looked like one of the two. The guy was like, I thought that's who he was. He's got 2 mortgages. He's got one in Haslett and one in Keller. So he's dealing with that right now. That's gonna be real tough. And once he gets rid of the other one, he'll probably, he's out in the middle of nowhere, man. You want to get the freaking security system out. Another door knock movie that I like is All the President's Men with Robert Redford. Didn't we recently lose him? And the master Dustin Hoffman. Probably one of the best psychological, I think it's Pukula. Yeah, Pukula directed it. Amazing movie, dude. All the President's Men. You gotta check it out. It's a door knocking movie. They have to knock on a lot of doors to find out that their president, Richard Nixon, was actually a crook. Well, he wasn't necessarily a crook. He was just spying on people. It's very similar to The Mine, only they're trapped by an Iraqi sniper. And they're, you know, hunkered down behind a wall. That's the one with John Cena. The other one is with Armand Hammer. And that one is a weird name because it sounds like Arm & Hammer, but it's Armand Hammer. That one is called Mine. And that's the one I own. That one's actually good. He steps on a mine and he can't move. And they have to deal with that. It's really crazy. Another really good one that people don't know about is with Ryan Reynolds, where he's trapped in a box underground. He's buried in a coffin basically underground because he was one of those contractors over there in Sunni Triangle or near there in that basic area. He was like a contractor. And they put him in a box to try to make money off of him. And he's got a cell phone. It's called, I think it's called Cell. I actually did a student film at UNT, and it was originally called Cell. They changed the title to Gathering Clouds, and it was premiered at the University of North Texas. I was in it. So if you can find that, I promise you, I will give you a reward. It's 35 millimeter. You know what a shirker is? A shirker is someone that makes a movie and then stores the 35 millimeter in their closet and hides it away. There's a documentary made about called Shirkers. But these YouTube movies aren't exactly shirker movies. They're actually pretty serious.